Shadow of the Colossus is without a doubt one of the most unique games I've ever played. Taking control of a lone wanderer and his trusty horsey, undertaking the great task of slaying giant, some would say colossal-sized, armored, but fuzzy, killer puzzles, all to save his lady friend. And to be frank, the game is wondrous and beautiful, yet intimidating at times, because flying can be scary, but I guess that's why you have this sword. Though as grand as the game may be, it was once to be even more so, with multiplayer, and lots of removed colossi. Also some other differences and left out things. So today on Gaming Mysteries, I'm talking about the beta and other stuff of Shadow of the Colossus. Now, development of the title began in 2002 under the work-in-progress name of NICO, combining the Japanese word for two and eco, which I think is neat. The game was first shown off the following year with a concept trailer of what the team ultimately wanted to accomplish with NICO. The trailer featured 4 familiar-looking horned characters, all riding horses, closing in on and attacking what appears to be a very early version of the second Colossus from the final version of the game. And as you watch, it's clear to see that even at this early stage of development, the game's basic mechanics were figured out and in place. The act of finding a way onto the Colossus, failing and almost getting stepped on, climbing up to attack it, trying to not get thrown off the Colossus, finding its weak spot and attacking that, and then watching it die, and then riding off triumphantly. Except that was replaced with being attacked by these black tentacles, because Japan, why not? The big takeaway from this trailer, though, is not so much the awesome things going on, but that those things involved 3 other people. This is because initially, the game was to feature multiplayer, or at least online multiplayer. Not sure if we ever got multi-tap confirmation on that. A missed opportunity if not. The idea was ultimately scrapped, though, when it was deemed too ambitious at the time due to the limitations of the online network. And also, it probably made the game really easy. I mean, 4 people teaming up to take on this guy is being mean at some point. So, it is sad that we didn't get the feature, but it's something I can live without. The other takeaway, I guess, is NICO's relation to Eco, as many thought, considering the similar looking characters, that NICO would be a sequel. It was confirmed, though, that this is not the case, and that the reuse of the character model from Eco was just more simpler to do at the time. So, moving forward, the characters on screen was limited to 1 for a while, continuing with Sir Horns, though eventually moving over to the Wanderer, sporting a blue shirt. Way to go. And the game was also sporting some different HUDs. This one looks really nice, this one not so much. The early version of the game's world was pretty desolate, and that includes the at-the-time arenas for the bosses. You can also spot some differences, besides the blue shirt and vast emptiness. The Colossus all look super creepy in these very early forms, though they also sport some differences here or there, like being able to hop right up to the second Colossus and climb up to his weak spot. And the third Colossus, instead of sporting a weapon that you can climb on, is using a thin blade that I think you'd have to grab onto the edge of and climb down and then over to the side, which kind of sounds like a pain in the ass, actually. And some Colossi seem to have different colored fur, although that could just be me. And while those differences are fun and all, the bit of unused content of Shadow of the Colossus that intrigues most are the unused Colossi. Shadow of the Colossus was originally intended to have 48 Colossi in the game, but this was deemed to be not feasible and was thrown out the window in favor of having 24 Colossi instead. There were unfortunately problems that the team ran into while developing some of these Colossi, where some couldn't be balanced fairly or they just didn't work for whatever reason. And so it was decided to cut the number of Colossus yet again, this time to 16, in favor of those 16 being more balanced overall and just providing better fights. And it's a move that, while respectable, leaves holes in the hearts of fans. Though luckily, hearts can be mended and or masked with an art book. And through this art book, it allows us to see what these encounters may have looked like, maybe. Which is segue talk, for I'm going to talk about the 8 left out Colossi now. Though before I hop in and start talking about the 8 left out Colossi, I highly recommend checking out Nomad's blog, which I'll have a link for in the description, as it's an incredibly fascinating read that goes into a scary amount of depth. The kind of depth that you really appreciate, you know? Where you have speculations as to where these bosses may have been located on the map with like coordinates and shit. And that's something that if you don't respect, you're just a terrible person. And honestly, I can't think of a better place to send you if you're interested in that kind of information, so by all means, check out Nomad's blog. And with that aside, let's hop into the subject matter. Up first we have Phoenix, who looks like a scary ostrich thing. It would apparently flap its wings constantly, sending the player flying backwards in the process, and getting in close would be the toughest part of the fight. And according to the art book, the beast would be defeated by plunging it into a lake. So, drowning. Fun stuff, except for the one time. As far as why it was removed, for one, the fight required a huge arena, one that was a lot larger than what they actually wanted to use, and two, Phoenix was a tad overpowered, and the team had trouble trying to make it a balanced fight. Next up we have Rock, an early version of Avion with a different head. Unlike Avion though, this battle would take place on land, with aggro being vital for the battle, as you'd have to chase the creature down, shoot it with arrows so that it would fall down, or fly down, I guess. It could go either way, actually. And then you could actually get close to it, climb on top of him, and then stab his weak spot. The main issue in the fight that they ran into was that it kept colliding into stuff, so collision issues. This is probably the reason why the fight was eventually moved to the sky, so that wouldn't be as much of an issue. For a fight better suited for the ground and my nightmares, we look towards the Spider, who is a giant spider, if you hadn't guessed. In this fight, your goal would be to take out all of the spider's 6 legs, swiping at them with your sword, causing the beast to fall to the ground where you would then be able to climb onto him and access his weak spot. The spider was left out because it proved to be too difficult to actually hit the spider's legs while you were riding the horse, meaning you'd have to dismount the horse for each leg, hit it, get back on the horse, ride to the next leg, and repeat the process. And I'm gonna go off on a limb here and say that battle probably got pretty tedious pretty fast, being one of the reasons it was removed. Well, that and they had problems hitting the leg, but still a cool design though. Shame it got removed, and eh. While talking about potentially tedious battles though, we have the Griffin, a griffin-like creature. Shocker, I know. This fight was apparently to play out in a similar fashion as Dirge, requiring you to use aggro to chase him down and climb on up. Evidently, it would take quite a bit of time to even get on the Colossus though, and once on said Colossus, it was apparently very easy to fall off. So the fight ended up taking a very long time and ended up being more tedious and painful than actually fun, this being the reason it was removed. Next up, we have what is probably my favorite left out Colossus, just because I think he looks cool, and he has a cool name, the Devil. According to the art book, it was an extremely small Colossus. You defeat it by menacing it with your bow, then drawing closer, while hiding in the grass and attacking it from behind. So it's hide and seek basically, more or less. You draw it in with your bow and then hide in the grass and then jump on its back and stab it. As for why the Devil was omitted, that's not really known, though if I had to guess, and I will, I'd say in the process of going from 24 Colossi to 16, he just wasn't seen as impressive enough to make the cut. For something more unique, we turn towards the Monkey, a Colossus that would be fought in a cave with stalactites, with the Monkey being able to climb around on the ceiling, and to attack you, it would just fall from the ceiling on top of you when you walked under it, which is pretty funny, so good job guys. As far as how the battle would ensue, while it's not known for sure, it is assumed by many that since the creature hangs from the ceiling, you'd probably have to shoot him with arrows, and then run up and cut him. Moving back to my fear zone though, we have the Worm. Not much is actually known about the fight, aside from some lies that someone spread around the internet a few years ago, but aside from that, some actual information that we know is that the Colossi's weak spot was located inside the bulb of its head, and like some of the other omitted bosses, it required a large arena to fight in. It was also apparently a tad overpowered, and so, removed. And to end this section of omitted Colossi, we turn towards Sirius, a fight that we know little to nothing about other than that he looks like a boar, and that he was removed because the fight didn't work well in execution. The key for the fight seems to have been getting the creature stuck in this certain rock formation, giving you an opportunity to strike its weak spot. Some speculate that due to the lack of armor and size, this Colossi may have been quite fast, and if that is indeed the case, I can kind of see of why they'd run into issues getting him stuck in that rock thing. But those are your 8 omitted Colossus, not counting all the other omitted ones. But besides the left out Colossi though, by searching through the disc, you can find a number of unused textures, some of which are from NICO, which given this game's beginnings, that makes sense. Also, watermelon. Aside from that, some unused assets of the omitted Colossi are also on the disc. There's 2 textures related to the Worm, and there's this one from Sirius. 2 more interesting left out items are actual left out items. One is called the Mask of the Titan. Its in-game description says that by wearing it, thou shalt gain the power to inflict deeper wounds upon a Colossus, so it would let you deal more damage, which is awesome. As for the other left out item, I wouldn't say it's great, so much that it's really neat in concept, but not necessarily in practice, but definitely in concept, and that's the Eye of the Colossus. Its in-game text says that by using it near a Colossus, thou shalt be able to see what the Colossus sees, and while using the item and hitting R3, the camera perspective would change from the Wanderer to the Colossus, but you would remain in control of the Wanderer, making it a little wonky. The item itself was only functional in a preview version of the game, and even then it was very buggy and unfinished. Which is a shame because that kind of item seems like it would be very, very fun to just mess around in a game like this. It's also worth noting that there's a number of unused areas, most of which reside near the edge of the map. These areas are most likely remnants of the older map that used to house the 24 Colossi version of the game. Aside from this, there is a bit of unused text ranging from boss hints to spoilers, so I'm not really going to get into that because they'll ruin the experience. Though if you want to go ahead and ruin the experience for yourself, Google will ruin the experience very quickly, so go ahead. But that's more or less the beta and unused stuff from Shadow of the Colossus. Now, despite all the left out Colossus, the final product is still an amazing game. And it's probably better than the version we didn't get because they ended up focusing on the 16 Colossi instead of the 24. But with that said, the exclusion of those other 8 is a genuine bummer, and I would love to see some kind of update to Shadow of the Colossus, maybe like a sequel, you know, expand the map, add in a couple of all of the Colossus that you didn't put in the game, because that'd be fun. Though I seriously doubt we'd ever see that. Just like how I'm starting to doubt that The Last Guardian is an actual game. Maybe it's vaporware. Though I'd love to be proven wrong. Or, I don't know, make Shadow of the Colossus 2, or do my other idea. Either or, it works. But this has been Gaming Mysteries. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, Yuriofwind here, and welcome back to our continued holiday end slatey tradition. You just watched the Gaming Mysteries and the beta and stuff of Shadow of the Colossus, something I've been meaning to talk about for a very long time now, and I was originally going to upload this like last week, but then I hated that video and had to redo the entire thing, so here we are. And I was also working on a bullshit creepypasta story time, but the story made me tired, so that's going to take a couple more days. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And to try and not take up too much more of your time, I'm just going to get into the end slating. So the first thing I do on end slate, the last video I did on this channel was a Gaming Mysteries on Final Fantasy 64. That's right, I did another Gaming Mysteries, and then this is another one. And then as for the other 2 videos, those will be just 2 other random ones I picked, and you may click on them if you want, or if you don't want to, I don't know. As for the social stuff, NICO does the art. You can follow him on the Twitter or the Facebook, and then I have a Twitter and Facebook, and you can follow those if you want, you don't have to. And then that's the other thing, if you like the video and want to like or share or do all the things that the people do, it's appreciated. You know, I love you guys, but I'm not going to force you to do it. And since I can't really think of anything inspiring to say here, I'm probably just gonna end the end slate. You know, a little shorter for today, I know, but these things happen. Next time on End Slate, who knows? Things could be thrown into disarray for all I know. I could be thrown into another dimension, and endless possibilities. I'm gonna go take a nap though, because I'm really sleepy, so good night. Bye.